Welcome to this video about rebuilding and modifying my Volvo XC70, taking it from the Copart auction where it had been totaled by insurance to street legal to lifted and off-road capable. This video took a long time to put together and I've put a lot of work into this car, so I'm really happy to be sharing it. This does mean that some of the clips are older, but I've tried my best to correct the audio and edit them together in a way that is up to snuff with my current stuff. There are chapters down below, as always, if you'd like to skip around. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, today is, Tuesday? We're going to get started on cleaning out the interior of the Volvo. I was just trying to take off this interior panel because I thought I might be able to access the back side of this gas cap, this gas thing, because this thing at the moment, that side, the cap doesn't close, so I guess I gotta undo these screws next. So it sounds like these hinge issues are a common problem on these Volvos, so I think I'm gonna have to build a hinge repair kit. I can hear this lock thing doing stuff in here. This isn't actually the latch, this is just the lock. I can hear it doing stuff when you press the lock button, but I'm not sure if it works. But mainly I just need to get the hinge repair kit, and then this whole piece should come off, and I should be able to have a working fuel door. I've got a new cabin air filter for the Volvo because it sure as heck needs it. It was a smoker's car, which is honestly the worst part about this car. And then within this box, there is the replacement gas flap door hinge. We're gonna get started on that. All right, so this was the issue with the gas flap. It's gonna be hard to show you here, but you'll see on this one, which is the new one, there's that little clip right there, right? So it goes on here like this. There's that little clip. But on the old ones, that clip is broken off. And what happens is that clip holds this spring back behind it, and that forces the door closed. So I kind of shattered that taking it off, but it came out really easy. It was already partially broken. And so now I just got to swap over the gas flap to this one and put it back on. So I figured it'd be easier to assemble it on the ground here, but essentially now, if you watch, it snaps closed with quite a bit of force since it's not actually on the car. Yeah, there we go. That's what holds it closed there. So these have little pins on here, like this one's the most obvious here. And then they go through here and push out these things. So I was just tapping on this one to push it through and it just snapped off. Maybe you're supposed to break them off and then push them through. I don't know. I'll see if I can get this on though. So one YouTube video later, I found out that they often snap off like that, and you should do that intentionally and then turn them around and insert them the other way. So what I've done here is I found a screw that fit perfectly in these holes, and I've just kind of screwed it in there to hold it. And honestly, if I had 3 more of those, I'd probably just install like that because that holds awesome. But instead I have to deal with these stupid little plastic pins. What a dumb design Volvo's got going here. All right, I got it in. I don't know what I would have done without these screws that I found in my bolt bin to hold it in while I fiddled with these stupid plastic pins. And it works. And you can really see here, I don't know if you can, but I can. You can see where the body is damaged and pushed in. There's quite a lip here. So I think I'm just gonna try and leave this and hope that the inspector doesn't really care. And then I'll try and I might put a new coat of paint on it, and then I'm just gonna try and get the bumper on over top of this, and we'll see how that goes. Now that I'm done with that, we'll be moving on to the cabin air filter, which I suppose is somewhere in there. Look at how disgusting this floor is. I don't even want to touch this. At least it appears to be a mat. Imagine if they didn't have mats in this thing. It would be gross. That's awful. It's like wet. The person who owned this before me, before they wrecked it, just was disgusting. We have not gotten around to cleaning this out yet. Well, here's our difference. I'm really hoping that this little flap here doesn't cause us any issues, considering it's on the wrong side on the new one. I'd initially pointed out that this flap was different on the new one, but also look it's about, I don't know, a couple mil thicker, and it's also just a tad bit wider. Well, I'm gonna spend a few minutes seeing if I can get this bumper to go haphazardly on. So I don't know, it's kind of gonna be like a puzzle. We'll see what I think. I also don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but there's this wire that comes out of the car right here. This is for the parking sensors. So I have to get some new parking sensors. and figure out if I can replace them into the bumper here. So this piece goes here, but I don't know what this metal is for. It looks like it needs to be grounded or something. And I first thought this would go into here, but it doesn't fit, and this is obviously for one of the parking sensors. So I'm not sure where this gets grounded to. Found the connector. It is right here. That's what that little metal sheet connects to. So in conclusion, I obviously didn't get it on, but I think I'm just gonna be able to cram this bumper back on. And the main issue stopping me here right now is that these just wanna fall off. And as well, I don't really need to put it on yet until I get new parking sensors. And it looks like I actually have all of the parking sensors. Here's the fourth one right here. I don't know if they work obviously, but I have all four. See, there's one, there is two, and there is three, and there's the fourth one. So all I really need is some wiring so I can solder them back up and actually connect them.
After a not insignificant amount of searching, I found the exact pigtail for the parking sensors. I looked up the part number on the one remaining parking sensor, the pigtail or wire connector, and I was able to find the part. So I ordered up 3 more of those and I'll be able to solder them on. And it cost me a whole $33.32. Not too bad.
So what I'll do with these is I'll probably just dab some hot glue in a very few various places and then stick them on, and then just cram the bumper on as best I can. And like over here on this side, when I was putting together, it actually snapped in. And I think that if I get it up there, then I can also snap it in on that side. And then the damage we'd have would just be right here. And I think this will pass inspection. It's not really that bad. This thing's a lot closer to completion than I thought it was. It basically needs a clean and some wiring and a bit of my time. Well, we're out here to clean the interior of the Volvo. Neither of us are too terribly excited about it. As you saw, it is disgusting in there, but we're gonna try and get her done. So what I've got going on here is that some moron decided to put the wrong glass on here. It doesn't line up in the slightest, it looks awful, and it's just overall, I mean, I'd prefer they just did with what they did with the other side, which is not replace the glass at all. But here we are, I'm just trying to get it off. Well, let's see if the power mirror still works. Yep, that seems to work still. I have no idea if the defrost works, but we'll have to find out about that later. Well, that went a lot better than I expected. I'll probably spend a little longer trying to get some of this tape off, and I didn't even break the glass, so I'd consider that a win. Oh, here, I should show you what all we found. So I found this can. I must say they have good taste. I love this stuff. It's been in there for a while. It's starting to turn silver. I found this unopened bottle of Gatorade. Let's see, expiration date, oh, August 2023, it's only a few months out. Let's see. Yep, that's Gatorade. And I think the most exciting thing we found is this dab pen. So not only was this person smoking cigarettes in here, maybe they didn't smoke cigarettes, maybe they were just smoking weed. I don't know, they're probably missing this, I'm sure. Today I just have the spray adhesive. I haven't mentioned this yet, I just noticed it while cleaning the car the other day. The A-pillar liner, I'll show it to you in a minute, is coming off. So that just needs to be spray adhesive back on. And then I've got what I hope is the correct air filter. It certainly looks a lot more like the old one. So we'll try that. I am going to then clean the floor mats, so that's going to take a hot minute and not be very fun. I'm going to do that in the bathtub inside. But first, it's cold out here still. I'm going to get started. Alright, so I have no idea which way this went. It does have an airflow marker, but I'm hoping the Volvo engineers were kind of smart on this one, and it just can go one way. Ugh, finally, that is done. That was a lot more of a pain in the butt than I thought it'd be. Honestly, I'd rather do the gas flap again than do that again. Up next is that spray adhesive. It's over on that pillar right there. To see how good of a job I can do with this. So yeah, it's that pillar right there is coming apart. Oh, hey, there's the car alarm. Is that going to become a staple of this channel? I feel like it is. So what happened there is I had the keys in my pocket, and then when I went to install that filter down there, I sat on them and I heard the doors click and I forgot about it. I just need to peel this back like that. And I get some spray adhesive on there. So it says wait until it's tacky, which I'm going to say it is without touching it. Well, I might have been a little liberal in my usage there. I just noticed this side's drooping too. I'm just going to do this to be safe. I'm going to go a little easier this time. I'd say that's a job done. I was going to say well done, but I don't know about that. But now I get to do the fun task of cleaning the floor mats. Alright, I'm like halfway through cleaning this mat, and I think what these need is just a pressure washer. I didn't want to do it because it was winter, but I'll deal with it. It would be so much easier than this, getting in all the nooks and crannies. Well, that's that for tonight. Now I'm gonna go take about 1,000,000 showers. Now this is what my kitchen looks like. Time to put these back into the cars. The mirrors came in for the Volvo, so I thought I might throw those on. Yeah, those seem to fit perfect. But, you know, that was really difficult to just order the correct mirror. I can understand why the previous owner would have just slapped that other one on there. This was really difficult to get a hold of. Well, ow, I think that'll work just fine. I think these are the correct pigtails. I don't know if I mentioned, but I ordered the wrong ones. They only had 2 wires coming out of them, so these should have 3 wires coming out of them. And in this big box should be a tail light. So I'm just gonna get right into it and see if I can get this thing wrapped up today. So, I just finished soldering all those together. Still gotta wrap them in electrical tape and then I'll plug them in. And then before I put the bumper on, I'll go see if the error message is gone on the dash. Very conveniently, the previous owner left this in the car. It's even Scotch brand name. Good stuff. That's done. Yeah, I think I'll just try and put this bumper on now. I'm just gonna get a little hot glue and kind of dab it on here just enough to hold these in while I put the bumper on. Then after that, the bumper should hold them on. Looks like it's about just 3 bolts. This should be a breeze to swap in. Let's go see if the warning lights are gone though. I think that this might be a good idea considering the car's locked. So let's see, there's our error codes right there. Right rear door open. Driver door open, tailgate open, low beam failure. I don't see anything about parking sensors. Let's see how this bumper goes on now that the styrofoam's held in place. I'm hitting on this taillight here. I think I'm just gonna pull it out since I've got to do it anyways. They made 2 of the bolts so easy to get to, and then there's this one. Oh, all intents and purposes, the bumper's on at least. I just got to get to that stupid bolt in here. Volvo, why couldn't you like put one over here? Why does it have to be up here? Well, I guess it's time to remove the stupid trim. I shouldn't have to look it up, but I'm going to. Alright, yep, turns out I had to take off more of the trim Get the tail light out. To be clear, this is the only piece of trim I need out, but in order to take this piece out, I have to take this piece out and this piece out, and maybe even this piece. Another piece. That doesn't sound good. Well, there's that out. Now it'll be easy. Well, there we go, finally. Yeah, that doesn't look half bad there now with the new tail light. This is the bad one. This is the good one. It looks good. Let's try it out. Hey! The parking is working! The parking assist! I bet you if I walk back there, you hear it beeping? Oh! It's working! That's sick! I mean, it's a basic feature, but it's cool that it's working. Like, I don't care if I have it, but I like that it's working. Reverse lights are working. Oh, that light's still not working? It still isn't. Is it an issue with the... Oh, I just saw it work. There it goes. Let's just twist that in and out a little bit and make sure that connection is good. There. Let's check the brake lights. I'm so happy that the stupid parking sensors were. That's dope. Looks like all the lights are working. I am really happy with that. Cool. All right, let's get this stupid trim back on. That's good. That just popped right in. Okay, let me get all my tools out of here. And this thing's going back outside because it's done aside from the driver's side headlight. What's going on here anyways? I haven't looked at this. Looks like it just needs a new rear wiper. Bumper's caught on the trailer hitch here. There. And with that, the Volvo is officially almost done. Not a problem. You know how I was so proud that I fixed the parking sensors? Well, they were beeping at me, and I ignored them because I thought they were beeping for some other reason. Forgetting that Leah parks her car back there. She watches these videos and that's when she's gonna find out. Nothing's damaged, by the way, it's just, it did happen. I just noticed an issue with the tail light that I got today from eBay. See how this one has this little marker here? Those are 4 red lights behind a clear housing. And on this side, none of them are working. So I'm gonna have to look into if I can fix that or if I need to get a refund from this eBay seller. Let's get that door closed, get the heat on. All right, so here's our issue. This is not secured in here very good, see it kind of just pops off. And so what I'm thinking is possibly just drilling like some holes in this plastic here that is held on good and just running a zip tie like that and then doing the same up here through this. I'm hoping it won't be too obvious because it does need to pass the visual inspection. Oh, wait a second. Here, look at this. See this section here? There's a little lip there you can go behind. And this has the other version of that. So that could be one of my problems, is that this is not going behind this. Okay, so now that's not going anywhere. I'm definitely still gonna put a few zip ties in here just in case, but I'm much more confident in that. Let me give you the grand tour. So on this side, as I showed you earlier, I got it installed correctly here, and so we put a zip tie here and a zip tie up here, and then finally another zip tie down here to hold it in. And then to hold the parking sensors in, we have a zip tie right here, and then on this side I put in more because part of the tabs were broken. So we've got one zip tie up here, one zip tie right here,
one zip tie right there, one zip tie right there, and then finally one down here just like on the other side to hold it in the bottom. And from like even this far, you can hardly even see them. So I'm pretty pleased with that. It's not too bad. I think I will take a crack at getting some of this stuff taken care of real quick. All right, so my setup's pretty simple. I have this cutting wheel, a cutting compound. I'm not too worried about how this goes, as I can't really make it too much worse. Famous last words. An interesting but not completely unexpected side effect is that now the metal parts are very shiny. All right, I'm about to go get the permit for the Volvo to drive to the inspection office. I would have done it yesterday, but I came down with something on Monday. Fortunately, I seem to already be getting over it, so I'm just gonna wear a mask. So, as you can see, we did get quite a bit of snow actually. So I lost audio here, but essentially I got the permit as you see here, and then I headed back home. Hey, and I didn't even set off the alarm. All right, that'll work. All right, it's inspection day. I couldn't resist. Earlier I did take the Volvo out, and I did discover this.
Well, as I was leaving, this just came up. So I'll have to look into that later.
So one of my solder joints or something must have messed up. I'll have to pull the bumper back off, redo all the zip ties, figure out what's wrong there. But that shouldn't keep us from getting inspected. Let's get right to it. Got all the paperwork. I've got my wallet. You know, I have a little extra time. I should go check the website and make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I think I've got everything. Let's go. I was very fortunate this thing came with a full tank of gas. It's so weird to hear the traction control system doing its thing. I've never owned a car that has anything more sophisticated than ABS. We better see how the off-road capabilities are. Oh, I heard it brake there to keep me from sliding. Oh, yeah, it's so weird, the traction control. All right, I'm gonna get back on the road. I don't want the bumper flying off or anything like that before I even get to the inspection. Dude, this thing goes pretty good, even with very limited traction. Stability management is wild, man. I know it's been standard on like a lot of cars for the past quite a few years, but it's new to me, man. You shouldn't use cruise in this situation, but let's see if it works. Oh yeah, works good. Yo, I just noticed, I think this thing has rain sensing wipers, which is another feature that I've never experienced before. Unfortunately, it's not raining right now, so I can't test it. All right, we're almost there. We are more than a half hour early. You're supposed to be, I think, about 15 minutes early. So I guess I'll just go get in line. Just gonna put that in the back seat and leave the mic on. They aren't like thinking I'm recording them or trying to start something. Looks like there's no line, the door's closed. Documents and photo ID ready. Oh, the door's open. Hey, Joel, a bit early.
What cylinder? How many on the engine?
It's 5.
5. Oh, 5 cylinder?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's a Volvo.
Yeah.
Automatic?
Yep.
Leather or cloth seats?
Leather.
What color?
Tan beige.
Your mileage and airbag light. Turn it on like you're gonna start it. There's the airbag light.
2925.
Go off. Okay. What is
wasn't
it?
on the way here.
12925.
Yep.
Okay. What'd you do to it?
It was in a minor rear right collision, so I just fixed the bumper and put it back on.
Have you opened up your door?
Sure.
And you can pop the hood. Wherever that is. That's the original bumper.
Yeah.
Be right back.
Sure. And now we wait. I think I've been here for about 15 minutes now. I think last time it took about 20. I guess they must just have to go do a whole bunch of paperwork. It only takes about maybe 5 or 10 for him to look over the car.
We got 60 days. Just sign it when you get a chance and take it up to the DOL and get it licensed.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right, and we are off. Let me get the camera mounted back up real quick. Now to head to the DOL and sit in line. Oh my God, there's a Hummer EV behind me. Seen one of those on the road yet? That thing doesn't have any problem with the snow. It just sinks right to the bottom. I think this thing accelerates better in the snow than any of my other cars do, aside from the RSX in the dry. Well, I just realized I forgot to stop at the ATM, and it's already 4 o'clock. They're only open for another hour. I'll just come in and do this tomorrow. Let's see how that works now. I think we might have a dead pump on our hands. I'm gonna take care of that. You can't not have windshield washer. I think that I ought to do a little quick test of the all-wheel drive system here on this little hill climb. The layout went up here just fine. It was kind of snowy out. Let's see if this thing can. Wait. It's trying, but no dice. Let's hope we aren't stuck here. Now let's give it a little more speed. Oh yeah, no problem. That was a pretty successful journey. When I got back from the inspection, I was noticing a little bit of a wobble in the wheel. I kind of thought it was just snow and ice that had caked in there, and so I put it in the shop overnight at about 40 degrees on the thermostat. And when I drove it next, the window washer worked again, so the pump wasn't bad, it was just frozen. Oh, and it did fix the wobble as well. Got all the bulbs. I need to redo all of the bulbs in the headlight housings, which I hear are pretty hard to get to, so I'm just gonna take care of that right now. The oil filter should arrive via UPS while I'm working on that, so that'll be next. Let's get right into replacing these bulbs. That was not easy, but I did get it out, and that's definitely what's bad. I don't know how the hell I'm gonna get it back in. Oh, yeah. Whew. That was it. All right, so I know I said in the intro that I was gonna do all the bulbs up here. Screw that. I'm just doing the one that needs doing. Now I have to get this cap back on. Well, let me go make sure that that's actually resolved the issue. All right, without that out of the way, let's tackle the much easier task of mounting the plates with what appears to be no mounting hardware. I don't have that many bolts, man. So I gotta go through this box and see if I can find any nuts that fit. Well, there's one. I just need, I'd say, at least 2 more of those. Well, it looks like I'm gonna make a trip to the hardware store, but at least I have one of the correct nuts. Let's see if I've got what I need for the rear. Looks like the rear mounts the same way, so I'll just need to go pick up 7 more of those. Wouldn't want to forget that in there. Oh, and I needed to take it off, by the way. I actually cut myself there because I was pushing so hard to get my hand down in there. So, since I can't even mount the plates, and since I decided to only do one of those bulbs, I'm actually done in only about, what, 20 minutes or something? And the oil filter has not arrived yet. Oh wait, before I go in, there's one more thing I can do. TPMS light is on, so I'll go around and see if I can top those off. Looks like 36 all around. The tire pressure on this thing should be taken care of. The headlights are good. So now the only warning light should be the parking sensors, and I've got to get the plates on, of course. But I'm gonna call it for today. I'm just not feeling too well. But tomorrow, hopefully I'll be feeling a little better. I can get those plates installed, get the oil changed. And while I was working on the car, I did get a notification that my new taillight had shipped. So that should get here in plenty of time, is where I can tear that one off, fix the parking sensors, and put the other one back on and ship it back to the company. All right. Going inside. All right, feeling a little better today, but we'll see how far I get. The goal for today is get the plates on and to get the oil changed. Made a trip to the hardware store, so I have the hardware. They probably had some sort of fancy little nut cap thing, which I might replace these with eventually, but these let me get the plates on today and start driving it today. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll do the oil. Let's get right into it. Hey, check this out. This tire went flat. It was fine yesterday and had been sitting for just about as long. That's weird. Plate number 1. Hey, good news, I got the right hardware. I chose to splurge for nylon nuts so they won't come off. Probably didn't need to, but it doesn't cost much more. All right, one done. That's interesting. This is designed for European plates, and they didn't even bother to change it. And so you can see the plate actually sticks out at the bottom, so it's kind of at an angle, so it doesn't hit the bodywork. All right, we are now street legal. Oh, you know what it was? There's this little gasket that's supposed to go in the valve stem cap. So I tried putting it in. I think it was actually pushing down on the valve core. That might have been the actual stupid issue. All right, let's finally get started on that oil change though. I'm gonna look up where the oil filter is before I even start on this one. Look it up before I get messed up, imagine. Still wet under here. That's gonna be fun. Okay, I'm just gonna get wet. I've got to show you how awesome this oil filter location is though. So here's the front of the car,
And if we just go in like this, it's right there. It's this thing. It's right there. No dripping on the frame. Just, it's visible. That's awesome. Let's see if I can get it with my hand. There's a special tool they make to take this thing off, because it's actually a reusable case with a filter insert. I don't have that tool. I'm not really inclined to buy it at this time in my life. So I gotta figure out how to get this thing off, because normally with an oil filter, there's multiple destructive methods you can use, like hammering a screwdriver through it and using that as leverage, or gripping it with a large pair of channel locks. But since I need to reuse this, I don't really have those options. Well, I got my biggest pair of channel locks and they aren't even close. All right, here's my next idea, a C-clamp. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get this thing on here though. That isn't gonna work. So that's an interesting video. That guy's using a ratchet strap to pull it off with, you know, friction and stuff. Okay, before I give this a yoink, let me show you what I'm working with here. So I've got this hooked into here, so just to keep it out of my way. And then while I had that hook there, it runs under here to the oil filter, where I've wrapped this into the strap around it about probably 8 times. And so now I just need to unhook this and then yoink on it as hard as I can. So let's see if I can get that done. Oh, that's not good. That's the problem with this oil filter placement. Well, there's nothing to do but try that one more time, I guess. Wait, I didn't see it, but you probably did. This filter is loose. I can't believe I missed that. All right, let me get that drain pan over here and get this thing draining. Well, after I got the filter off and the undercover off, this might be one of the easier oil changes I've done. The plug's right there, didn't spill a drop. All right, so this is new to me, although I've just had, you know, used the traditional kind, but essentially the filter came out here and then there's a gasket somewhere in here that I need to remove. I think it's right there. There we go. And my new oil filter did come with a new gasket. And one thing that I did notice is that this is an OEM Volvo filter that they had in here. So they're being pretty fancy. They must have taken it to the deal. Maybe they took it to the dealership for scheduled maintenance, which would be really good news. Anyways, that's back in there. All right, I guess I just got to screw this thing back in then. So she did in the video, she got it that tight, and then she torqued it to spec. By the feelings of my hands, that is the spec right there, so that's good. These are actually built-in torque wrenches, you wouldn't believe it. Okay, let's pull this out slowly. Let's get that drain plug back in. And again, torqued right to spec. All right, so of course you're not supposed to check the oil while the car's jacked up, so let's get this thing on its wheels and... Damn it! I knew I was gonna do that. That's gonna be a lot of paper towels, man. Let me let this one drain while I deal with that. Oh shoot, I forgot to put the dang Undertray back on. Okay, this thing's probably drained by now. This thing's got a real kink in it. Let's see if I can just straighten that out. Yeah, that's quite a lot better. There, that's gonna be perfect. Yep. So over here is where we had our mini Valdez, so I figure if there's a chance I'll spill again, I might as well do it here. How am I doing? Looks like we're doing pretty good. As I was dumping the oil into the pan, I found this. This is the washer for the drain plug. That's problematic. So I'm gonna have to jack this thing back up, crawl back under there, pull the drain plug off, put this thing on it, put it back on as fast as I can, and then top it off with oil again, I guess. That is really frustrating. Oh, okay, so that's off. So how am I gonna do this? Okay, I got the whole plug as good as it's gonna be. Nut or washer. Really fumbling the delivery here. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Well, that went about as well as could be expected, I think. I do not need you anymore. Thank you. Well, that was made difficult by Volvo, and then even more difficult by my stupidity. All right, not too bad. Wish I hadn't made it so hard on myself though. So one thing you want to do when you get a new unknown car, replace the air filter. This one looks a little grimy. So I got a fancy new K&N filter. When I say fancy, I mean it. This thing was like 80 bucks, but it's washable, so should never have to buy one again. First, I need to vacuum this thing out. All right, much better. Let's throw this thing in here. there we go, new filter installed.
That air filter ended up being a lot more expensive than just the cost of the air filter, because as I was filming it, I left my phone sitting right here, thinking I was going to record something else. I didn't. And then I went like this. And you would think that might shatter it, but all it actually did was give it a tiny little crack at the bottom that goes up like this. And obviously it still works fine. So I was thinking it might be finally time to move on from the wing, but even the 4-year-old phone that I wanted when it was new is still $300. So I decided to order another parts wing for 180 bucks instead, so the wing will live on. So I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but this car was a smoker's car. I think they were the type of smoker that rolled down their window and blew out the window, because it's really not that bad after we cleaned it out at least. But there is still a little bit of smell. I'm especially worried about when it starts to get warm in the summers. And so I got this thing for about 60 bucks. It is an ozone generator, and I guess it works by generating ozone, and the scents cling to that and get pulled out. I don't know how it works, honestly. I just know that it might help with the smell, and it was only 60 bucks. So I'm gonna throw this in here overnight. I'm gonna hook it up to the battery tender and leave the ignition on with the recirculate run. We'll see how that goes, I guess. And I've got the ozone generator here in the back, so we're just gonna flick that on. And it makes that noise, and I guess you can see it in there. And apparently you're not supposed to spend too much time in the room or around these, so I'm just gonna close the hatch here, and then I'm gonna let that run overnight just like that. All right, so I'm gonna pop this thing out of the car here. It's been running all night and then all day, so it's been running about 24 hours. They say to turn it off. Oh, I can smell it. It smells weird. They say to turn it off and just leave the area to air out for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes. So Leah and I are gonna go on a walk and do that. I lost audio during this part, but all you're watching me do is swap in the second taillight that I got off of eBay. What you see here is me showing off a crack in the taillight. It was specifically advertised as not having any, but it was packaged really, really poorly. And so this is how it arrived. I contacted the seller and asked for a $70 refund, which would have resulted in me paying $17 for the taillight. However, they declined, saying they'd rather claim shipping insurance. So I initiated a return. I thought I was gonna have to send it back and put in a third taillight. However, just today, as I'm editing this video, I got a message that I got a full refund without needing to send it back. So that's a huge bonus. I'll just leave this thing in here unless it gets clouded up or something. Well, I can't procrastinate any longer. I've got to pop this bumper off of here, see if I can figure out what's wrong with the parking sensors, and slap it back on. Oh. And she's off. So right off the bat, I'm not noticing anything weird. I'm just gonna go see if they're working now. Maybe just jostling the wires did it, in which case I have a short I need to track down. Okay, so yeah, we still do have our code, so something is wrong. So I need to track down a short or something. Well, I couldn't figure anything out, unfortunately. I guess I'm gonna slap this back together since I need to drive it across the state on Friday. And if I get a chance, I might stop by a Volvo service center, have them see which one's wrong, and in the meantime, I'll order a replacement, take care of it then. How many times am I gonna have this bumper rotted off? Hopefully only one more. Well, that wasn't too bad. I think it took me about 15 minutes or so. I am disappointed though that I wasn't just able to get them fixed from a loose connection and that I have to do all of this all over again to actually replace the dud sensor. I don't know. I guess it's on there. I need to get ready to leave tomorrow or the next day. It's Thursday right now. I'm heading over to the west side to spend time with family at my family's property. And there's one thing I want to do on the Volvo before I leave. The old headlight that I didn't replace is a little bit dimmer than the other one. And there's also a little tiny courtesy light, I think they call it, that is in one of the headlights that's out. It doesn't affect anything, but it doesn't look very nice that it's out. Nothing more to do but get to it. The shop should be all heated up for me by now. Let's go pull those headlights, replace some bulbs, and do some polishing. So this yellow button on the remote right here, instead of doing something useful like, you know, remote start, it just turns on something called courtesy lights. The idea is you can find your car in a parking lot by pressing this button. I think it's really useless, but as you can see, there's a little light bulb in here that is completely out. So while we're tackling polishing these and making them look nice, we're gonna try and replace that and fix it. I think I might have to run to the store really quick, which I'm excited for, because I might be able to take the Loyale out, because I need to pick up the courtesy lights, because I don't think I have bulbs for those. So I gotta look up a guide on how to remove these. I think you gotta first remove the bumper cover, and from what I've heard, that's pretty simple. Yeah, get right into it. Well, for once the internet didn't lead me astray. That was not too difficult at all. It's only been like, what, 5 or 10 minutes? I'm gonna quickly swap all the bulbs I have into these, and then I'm gonna see which, I believe 3 bulbs I need. 4 bulbs, and then I'm gonna make a run to the parts store and grab those, and then I'll get polishing. All right, I got all the bulbs I replaced that I had on hand. So next stop is the auto parts store. It looks like I just need to pick up 4 of these little guys. Light bulbs acquired, but that road is slicker than snot. I did do that on purpose because I thought it'd be funny. All right, let's get these thrown in and start polishing. Well, I'm not entirely sure if this job is done, but I sure am done with it. So I'm gonna call it and clean them up and give them a clear coat. I think the previous owner parked this thing pointing east in the morning and west in the evenings, because wow, these headlights were gone considering this is a 2007. At the very least, this is an improvement, and I had to pull them out anyways to change the bulbs. So let's get a coat of clear coat on there. If you're rather observant, you'll notice that these look kind of like crap, especially the part where it was really damaged up near the top that I didn't quite get as clear. They just look awful. So I'm gonna see how good I can make these look and then throw them back in the car, I suppose. I spent a bit of time buffing this one and I haven't this one. They look virtually identical. I'm just gonna have to come back to this on a different day and do it again. You know what 2 vehicles in my fleet don't have yellowed headlights? The Oldsmobile and the Loyale. And you know why? It's because the housings are glass. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm pretty bummed about this. Well, now that I've got the headlights back on the car, they do look actually somewhat better, I think. I don't know, I'll have to look at the footage and see what the before and after looks like. At any rate, I think the headlights are a little better, and it is nice to have all the bulbs working as well. All right, time to load her up. Well, before you go on a long drive, you gotta check the fluids, so I'm gonna do that real quick. We're all good under here, so I think it's just about time to get on the road. It's chilly out here. As you might notice here, I turned around. I left the gas cap on top of the Volvo, and by the time I got back, it'd been run over. Fortunately, the part that screwed in was in good enough shape for me to screw it back in there, and the error message on the dash went away. I'm gonna report a few instances of this thing going through some of the same obstacles that the Loyal did. This thing is a lot heavier, but it does have that traction control system that can, you know, stop a wheel if it's spinning. First thing we're gonna do is this little downhill bit that's meant for the ATVs. The Loyal did fine, as you can see here, but we're gonna see how the Volvo does. It's a lot bigger, a lot heavier, a little bit wider. Let's go. I would say the Loyal actually did a lot better there. It's just this thing is so heavy, and I think the approach and departure angles in the Loyal are just a little bit better. So next, let's go drive through some puddles. I didn't expect to make it across the puddle and then get stuck here. It would appear that we are stuck as heck. Next step, gotta go get the tractor. Yeah, I don't think it was gonna do that under its own power. Look at these ruts. I'd be lying if I said that wasn't fun, but it was a lot of work, and I am soaked. Well, let's get everything thrown back in here really quick. I should probably clean up my straps as well. I do need to fit a tandem bike in here on my way home. Cleaned up, ready to drive back home on Sunday. I got home around 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. I like driving through the night. There's less traffic, less people to have to pass. The only downside is you might hit an animal or something, which fortunately I did not do. However, it's time to unload this thing. I came back with more crap than I took with me, including this tandem bike that I got for free from my sister and brother-in-law. Here's what, it's kind of tricky to get loose because there's nothing to grip. But here's what I had in there in the meantime, just the bottom part. But as you can see here, while I was on the west side, I ordered a new one and it's arrived. I don't know where this little loop was supposed to go, so I just kind of shoved it on here. See if the gas cap will close like that. Let's get this screwed in. There's that. Let's see, does this even close? It appears to close just fine. Maybe that's the intended position of that. So now I will not leave my gas cap behind again. It's time to work on the Volvo's parking sensors, and if I don't get them fixed today, I'm going to get a code reader or something to modify the Volvo to make it so the error message doesn't pop up, because I don't need them that bad. But we are going to try and fix them today. However, as you might be able to tell, a Volvo is not going to be able to fit in here at the moment. So first, got to clean up. All right, with that, it's not perfect in here, but I think it's good enough to get the Volvo in and at least work on the rear end. So we are gonna do that. It is snowing right now, even though it's been in like the 70s last week. It hasn't been too bad, so I'm hoping I don't get too wet while doing this job. I don't think I'll ever get tired of cold starting this thing. All right, I've got to share something here with you. I don't know what could have possibly caused this. These wires have completely lost
any semblance of insulation. I'm gonna need to jump between these two, this part that's rotted out. And second step, if that doesn't fix it alone, is going to be trying out the new parking sensor in all the different spots. All right, let's get started on pulling this stupid thing off. All right, so my new theory is these were actually kind of hard to pull apart. It was like they were melted together. And I think between the exhaust and the corrosion from the mud and water, it just ate away at the insulation and they were just all stuck together from mud and melting. All the colors were preserved. However, it does look like there are duplicates of stuff like the blue wire, which is probably just a power wire, so I probably don't need to worry about getting them right. However, just to be safe, I am definitely going to try and get them right. You know how I just said I was going to wire all the blues back to the same blue? Yeah, immediately after I cut that, I realized that that's no longer going to be possible. Yeah, I'm going to have to look up some wiring diagrams and see if I can figure this out and see if it does matter which blue, and I think the blacks might all be the same too. I got to see if it matters which blue and black goes to each one. I'm thinking the blue and black wires are all the same, and these different colored wires are the ones that matters, and I really hope that's true, but let me do some research really quick. All right, so I did find the wiring diagram, and it does look like these blue and black wires just all come from the same spot and they split. I think I can just wire these back up as was with the same colors, and that'll work just fine. All right, I just finished reconnecting all of these, and before I put all the heat shrink on best I can, I am going to plug in the parking sensors and see if it just works like this, because that is a possibility that this was the issue and not the parking sensors themselves. Oh, it still says park assist service required. Let me make sure all these sensors are clean. That's something that people mention. Okay, they're still not touching anything. I made sure they're freshly clean. Let's see if that does anything. Okay, it is still telling me that park assist service required. Let's just try swapping out each sensor one at a time and see if that can fix it. Swap out my suspicious number 1 here first. Still says service required. Let's just move it down the line. It doesn't have to be this last one. Didn't do anything. Let's try number 3 here. Well, there's only one more to test. Yep, nothing there. Whoa, look at this. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, there's no way you're gonna be able to tell. But one of the pins in this parking sensor is bent over. I think this is the brand new one too. Either way, let's see if we can get that bent back straight. That could actually be our issue. I don't even know why I was looking in there, but I'm glad I happened to be. Well, I didn't have high hopes, but any hopes I did have since been dashed, because it still does not work. I double checked this one did have all of its pins straight. Yep, those are all straight now. I think I'm gonna stop sharing my suffering there. I spent a lot longer trying to get these things to work, and I just couldn't. I did eventually just end up going inside and ordering more parking sensors. So I was just heading out to get lunch in the Oldsmobile, try it out again, make sure it still warms up nicely. But the parking sensors arrived and I could not resist just throwing them in and seeing if they work. So I'm gonna do that really quick here. All right, I've got the keys right here. Let's see if this fixes the problem. If this doesn't, I don't know where I go next. Maybe the control module. Oh, it's gone. It's working. Apparently one of these just was bad and I didn't find it. So now it's working. I just have to throw this back. I'll see you later tonight when I'm doing that. With that, this thing should be working. I suppose for the sake of conclusion, I should show you them actually working. Okay, yeah, so oh wait, I'm getting something now. That took me getting very close. That's not altogether that helpful. Well, like I said, the error message is gone, but they obviously are not working as expected. I'm wondering if maybe they're pointing at the error a little bit. I'm seeing this is pointing up a bit. Regardless, long story short, the error message is gone. They kind of work, but you shouldn't trust them. That's good enough for me.
And so at this point, I would consider the car completely finished. It is ready to sell if I wanted to do that. Obviously, I didn't, but I did go over all the costs at this point.
My initial cost for this car was $3,063.40. I had to pay again $40 for my friend to tow it back home because I didn't want to get pulled over for having no plates or registration. I spent $18.28 on the fuel door hinge. I spent $27.97 on the cabin air filter. I bought the wrong parking sensor pigtails, which cost me $33.32. I bought the replacement mirror glass since the previous owner didn't bother putting the right ones of those on. That was $37.26. I got the tail light for free, which was a huge win because it had that little crack in it. I bought the correct parking sensor pigtails for $39.77. I bought the replacement rear wiper for $21.04. The transit permit was $8. Registration, plates, and inspection and all that stuff was $323.93. Then I did an oil change, which cost me $65.33 for the oil and $23.13 for the filter. I then bought wipers for the front, which I bought some nice wipers for $76.21. I then bought a expensive K&N air filter for $81.66. I bought a new gas cap because I left it in the parking lot and ran it over for 15 bucks. Bought a new parking sensor, a single one, for 15 bucks. And I bought 4 new parking sensors for $40. And that's actually all I did to rebuild it. And so after all that, I was at just under $4,000 at $3,929.64. I have spent more money onto the car that you'll see in the future, and I'll go over here in a minute. But I also want to show off this example that sold on Cars and Bids recently, which obviously I think cars go for a little more on Cars and Bids, but this is a really good example of what my car would be worth if it were a clean title. This is a 2005 Volvo XC70 all-wheel drive. It has a few extra features that mine doesn't, such as the extra back seat, the third row rear-facing seat, and a few other things, but mine also has a few features that it doesn't have. So I think it's about even. This one has 113,000 miles, which mine has about 125, so an extra 10,000 miles. This also had a one-owner history until 2020, so that does help the sale price. But long story short, it sold for $8,000. Usually you can figure your rebuilt title will sell for about 2/3 of that. So if we do the math there, that's about $5,333. So if I could sell the Volvo for that, let's say I get a good deal on it, it's $5,500, I would make about $1,500. However, as I mentioned earlier, I have since spent more money on it. I don't know when the timing belt was last done, so I bought a timing belt and water pump kit so I can replace that. And there's a tray underneath of it. I'll try and go get some B-roll of that. That fell off, that holds the fuel lines up. Very important that you have that. It's a stupid design. It should be metal. It should bolt on. It's plastic and it snaps on. So it just leaves the chat whenever you scrape on something, as I might have done last weekend. And I also bought an aluminum skid plate. So the timing belt kit was about 200 bucks. The aluminum skid plate was about 200 bucks. And the plastic cover was almost 100. It's ridiculous. But anyways, that all came out to $526.90 after tax and everything. And then I'm also gonna buy new tires for it, some BF Goodrich KO2s. And after all of that stuff, I would be at $5,400. Which is about what I think I could sell it for, especially if I own it for a bit and get some maintenance history on it. You know, people know it's been reliable, that'll help. The reason I decided to camp last minute is because I ordered these parts, the skid plate, the fuel line under tray, and the timing belt and water pump kit from a company called IPD, and they're located in Portland, Oregon. And so I'm hoping to stop and grab those parts, and that would save me 50 bucks shipping. However, of course, they're only open on business days, so I'm gonna have to get there on Monday. So I'm planning on leaving Sunday night, camping outside of Portland, grabbing my parts early Monday morning, and then working Monday. All right, it's Sunday morning about 9:38. If I want to find camp before dark, I need to get out of here pretty soon, so just gotta throw a few more things in the Volvo and get moving. Well, with that, I think I'm ready to go. Got a bunch of tools in here because I'm planning to do the timing belt over there, and my dad has most of the stuff, but I just figured I'd bring some extras. Like, he doesn't have the impact of the automated ratchet, which I don't know how much I'll need of those, but it'll be nice to have them if I need them. About 6:40, time for me to get up and get packing and get into IPD. The images you're seeing right now are a few pictures I took at IPD of some freaking
Sweet Volvos.
Well, I thought I'd take a minute and pull this out and see if it's blown, and it well and truly is. So I have like 3 of these at home from the taillights I got for rebuilding it, but I'm over here for a week, so I'm just gonna have to go buy one. All right, I'm just gonna throw this little fuel line cover on really quick. I think I can just crawl under there and do it right now. Here in a parking lot, I might get a little damp, but that's okay. Okay. Oh, this is fun. Oh, this is really fun. All right, that wasn't too bad, really. New bulb acquired and installed, and it works. All right, it's time. Time to do the timing belt. Apparently this job isn't too terrible bad, but I guess we'll see how bad it is for me today. Hopefully just today, but maybe tomorrow too. Let's get right into it. We got everything except for just a few covers and the serpentine belt put back on. We're gonna try and start it.
That seems normal to me.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds perfect. Well, I started about 4 and we had dinner, and now it's 8:45, so it's probably about 4 hours, plus we're not quite done, so call it 4.5. And then I get to do the fun part, the reward, which is installing this skid plate here. I hope I'm not celebrating too early. So it seems to be warming up just fine, and while it does that, I'm gonna get started on the skid plate. It came with new hardware, so I don't have to worry about that. I just need to pop this plastic thing off and get going. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to clean up the coolant. My hair will now not freeze. Well, that was the fun part. That went on like a breeze. I did have a little issue with the one bolt you might have seen, but I think that's more due to that one tab that having an issue on my car. I think it had been bent from something. I don't know what could have done that. But yeah, this thing's warming up great. I think it's hasn't crossed the middle yet, so that's perfect. And now we got that undertray protection. We don't have to deal with that stupid plastic thing anymore. I think I'm gonna get this thing dropped back down and backed out of here. Well, all in all, that job, knock on wood, went really well. As long as I make it home, I'll stand by that. It's 10:10, so it took me about 6 hours, but I did stop for dinner, and I wasn't really in a hurry, obviously. Well, let's see if this thing takes me home, I guess. So we did make it home just fine. The timing belt's still working well to this day. So the next thing I ended up doing to the Volvo was installing a 3D printed lift kit. But first, here's some footage of me off-roading before it was lifted for comparison's sake. If you're looking for the full context of these clips that are playing, then there should be cards up in the top right, and I'll link them down in the description so you can go watch the full videos. I also have a bunch of different playlists on my channel, so if you want to see the full Volvo story or all of my camping adventures, then go check out that playlist. I'm going to lift this car right here with about $20 in filament and these 4 3D printed parts. Hold up, we actually need to print these things first. The results, they are amazing, but we got to start at the start. Let's get right into printing these things, which went actually surprisingly smoothly. All right, we're preheated. Let's unload this PLA and get started with the PETG. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. I don't have a lot of experience printing with PETG. All right, and with that, we just need to select our print. tell it to start. Here is our finished part. PETG, I've heard, is very sticky, so we are just gonna let this cool off, and then it should just pop right off. There we go. Let's see how easy the sports come off. Ooh, I was kind of worried about that. This time lapse shows just how difficult it was to get the supports off, but I did get them off, good enough considering the fact that they're just going in a car. These models were available for free online from some other Volvo XC70 enthusiasts. These are rear spring spacers. They go just underneath the spring, just pushing it up to increase your preload effectively. And these are front top hat spacers, and they go right about here. I did also have to spend about 10 bucks on these bolts, which I'm hoping are the correct ones. If not, I'll have to make a quick hardware store run. Considering the front is just top hat spacers, it should be a lot easier. So let's do that first, jack up the front of the car and get started. I've done this before on the Crown Vic, pretty much the exact same process, and I've also replaced the front coilovers on the RSX, so this will be absolutely no problem for me. All right, let's get this thing jacked up and get started.
I think you can hear this, but it's raining outside. It's making the work out here today ever so cozy. Next step is hammering the studs out of this top hat.
Shit. This was kind of ridiculous. I pretty much had to get this started by putting a wrench on it and using the threads to suck it through. This bolt in the bottom here, and this top one here I got by using the jack to jack up this block of wood, which was touching the screwdriver, which was through the bottom hole, and that would allow it to pry it up, and then that lined up this hole enough to where I get the bolt through. And after that, like I said, I had to use the threads to pull this bolt through. But it is through now, so moving on. So now we're running into the problem of using bolts instead of studs. As you saw earlier, I hammered out these studs. Now these are bolts. However, I don't really have any way to get a wrench up in there onto those. So I'm gonna have to figure something out. All right, I managed to get a wrench on this one here. I cannot figure out how to get these bolts tight, considering I can't get a wrench up in there, and I can't even get my hand up to this one. So I'm gonna go grab lunch and think about what I want to do. Got some nachos for lunch, and I think I've found what I need. However, obviously they are not cheap, and they ship from the United Arab Emirates, so they're not going to be here anytime soon. So that's not my preferred solution, but this for 39 bucks right here, that's exactly what I need. I'll have to do some thinking and see if I can figure out any other way to do it, but I have no idea. So I don't actually have a welder yet. I've been meaning to learn to weld for a long time, and I haven't gotten around to it. But I have a buddy who lives like 5-10 minutes away, and he does. So I'm just gonna pull both struts out, and then I'm gonna stop by his place and have him weld those bolts to the top hat. More work, more fun. As a side note, I looked into doing the rears. They look like they might be even less fun. Well, that didn't take hardly any time at all. As we all know, the hard part is putting it back together. Let me just hammer these studs out of here, and then load these up into a different car and drive over to my friends and have them tack weld the new bolts in. In my friend's garage. Of course, there's the part I always forget about, which is prep. Just like with paint, you got to do a lot of prep with welding, which means, just like paint, I probably wouldn't be that good at welding. Just like that, This thing's lifted up here in the front. I was hoping to tackle all 4 corners today, but that just isn't going to happen. Plus, I've looked it up and the rear seems to be even worse than the front. I didn't do any measuring before and after, but this definitely looks like more. Maybe you'll be able to tell in the edit, but it really wasn't that bad aside from the, the detour over to my friend's to get him to weld those studs in. So when I was setting this thing down or anything, I did not hear any weird noises. Here, I'll set the mic right here on the tire. Like, you're not hearing any creaks or anything, so I think it's just good. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow when I'm get started on the rear. Let's get working here. I saw a little trick online that'll hopefully help us not need to use a bottle jack. Let me see if I can find a piece of wood to utilize it. There we go. Here's our trick. This will be perfect once I cut it to length. Let's get started taking this thing apart. So this is the trick I read about on the internet. If you just pop out the little bump stop here, which I still have no idea how I'm gonna get this back in, but if you just pop that out and then hammer a piece of wood into here where it goes, then in theory, that should hold this arm down, so I can just bolt this guy right back in after I'm done. That's the theory, at least. This dust cover is preventing it from going over, and it doesn't seem like it's designed to be removed in any way, so I need to figure out some way to get around this. So this here is my ingenious solution. I got a bunch of extensions, hammered on them, and, well, came right off. I don't know if I'll be able to press that back on, but hopefully, now we can install our 3D printed part. And that sits on there, just like that, and holds our coil up. This was a lifesaver because it was just almost lined up. I just had to do a little bit of prying with my expert pry bar here and a little hammering with the hammer, and it popped right on. Now that I have a strategy, this side should be twice as easy, right? All right, moment of truth. How's it look? I'd say that looks pretty tall. Again, I didn't measure, but not bad. I'm gonna go for a drive. I'll let you know how it is when I get back. The next day, I actually took the time to take it out and drive it off-road, so let's cut to that really quick, and then we'll cut back to the shop to hear my thoughts. There's a spot here where it used to scrape where it doesn't anymore. Let me just show you real quick. So I used to scrape coming off of this little hill here, and then again going up the other one on the other side. And as I believe you can hear, no scraping. Now let's go up this one. This is right where I'd scrape, right there. Not anymore though. Just no problem. I hope that lets you know kind of what it looks like. As you saw in the last part, I haven't been easy on this so far. I've done that a few times now, and well, they haven't fallen out of the car yet, so I think we're pretty good. Knock on some fake wood trim. And yeah, like I said, it scraped those spots before, and now it doesn't, so that's really great. So I definitely tell it's out of alignment, which makes sense. We messed with the suspension. I need to align it. This might be the first time you see it on the channel, but I do have a home alignment kit, so we'll try that out. Also, you can definitely tell that in the rear, it's a lot stiffer, or rather, there's been preload added. It doesn't have quite as much travel before it hits the stiffer part of the spring, if I'm saying that right. But unless you're off-roading, like I did just do, it really isn't noticeable. I think I'm pretty stoked with this. The parts seem to still be in the car. Here it comes! With your lift, you have to get new beefy tires, so that's of course what I did next. These are some BF Goodrich KO2s in size 225/70 R16, and they barely fit. They actually do rub on the plastic a little bit in the rear, oddly enough. The front is completely fine. The footage you're watching right now is right after I installed them, and man do they help with traction, even when they aren't aired down. All right, my tie rod end came in for the Volvo, but first I need to get this wood out of here, which means I need to try and get all the metal out of it and cut it up for firewood. So I will get started on that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Oh, those are heavier now. All right, let's zip this tie rod off and get it replaced here. It shouldn't be too hard. Famous last words. Well, normally I like to have two people to do this just because it's a lot easier. So how this works is there are two rulers, one on the front and one on the back of each of these things. And there's one on the back wheel and one on the front wheel. And so you tie it into the same measurement on the front of the front wheel and the back of the back wheel. And then you measure from the one on the back of the front wheel. And then that tells you how far out of tow you are. For example, if you take a look right now, we are very out of tow, because see that string? It's over by the 1 when it should be over by the 3, as that's where we have it plugged in up here. This side's a little closer. Since I didn't mess with the tie rod, it's going almost past the 3, as you can see. So I'm going to get under there and get the other one loosened up, because obviously this one's loosened up because I just did it, but this one might be very tight, so I'm going to get under there and do that. There is a lot of some sort of oily fluid under here. I did notice the power steering making weird noises. That would not be very fun if that had gone bad. Let's see, is this power steering over here? That looks pretty darn dry. Well, I do have some power steering fluid lying around, so let's just top it off, but there's some big leak somewhere. Let's see if we're even on the mark after the rest of that bottle. Oh yeah, it's right at the minimum right now, so at least that should make it to stop making noises, but that does not solve the problem. Unless it does. All right, back to trying to loosen this stupid nut. That took a lot longer than expected, and it's getting kind of late, so I am gonna head inside. At least we need to get one issue fixed, even if it still doesn't drive perfectly straight. So for the Volvo, we have a fuel filter, we have spark plugs, we have a fuel pressure sensor, and the issue that I'm chasing today is a little bit of a surging effect. When you have the pedal to the metal, it kind of pulses and surges, and I don't think it's a transmission issue. I hope it's not a transmission issue. And when I looked it up, it said it could be a few of these things, so I just got all of them in one order, make it easy. Probably use them by now after 125,000 miles. But anyways, let's get started and get some parts thrown on. The first thing that I didn't actually mention is an oil cap gasket. Apparently these notoriously go bad and leak oil. I don't really think mine's been leaking that much oil, but I picked this up with all the other stuff, and it's supposed to be made out of a different material, so it'll last longer and not leak as much. You know, they might have had a point. This thing is pretty darn brittle. That thing's done. Here's our new one, which of course is very pliable and flexible. Job one done. That was easy. Now we got to move on to the more involved stuff. This stuff is just for my next oil change. This is a tool to get the little cartridge holder off, since this uses a reusable cartridge holder thing and then an insertable filter. And so that's to get that off. That was like $40 for Volvo. This is just an oil filter that I picked up while I was in the shop for the next oil change. See if I can manage not to lose those by the time I need them. I don't know which order we should do this in. Kind of tempted to do the fuel filter first, so let's just do that. Ah, there it is. Oh, jeez. Oh, I got it. I got it. All right. We might lose some fuel here, so. God, that was a pain in the ass. Should be a lot easier to put back on though, because it just should snap on. I don't know if you can see that, but that was some freaking murky brown stuff. That does not seem good. Yeah, that was not clean fuel coming out of that filter. All right, well, that job is done. Look at this. This is our new part. There's our old part right there. So all this stuff is just going to be dead simple in the engine bay here. That's quite a lot of fuel. I knew that was going to happen, and I just did not prepare, and that is on me. That was stupid. I should have at the very least had a few rags in there. Hopefully that doesn't hurt any of the rubber down there too much. Don't be like me. Release the fuel pressure. The funny thing is, I don't know if it's that funny, is that I sort of already did that by doing the fuel filter back there, but then I had to go and start the stupid car and it built fuel pressure again. So just really dumb all around. All right, old one out. There's not really any way to tell if it's bad, but it's out. This is a Volvo OEM part though, and so that makes me think that it could be original, so it probably needed replacing. The one that I bought is the same part number. You can see both of them up there at the top say Bosch, but this one just says Volvo down at the bottom, so no reason to spend. I think it was like an extra $200 for the Volvo logo right there, and I ain't about to spend that. Shout out to IPD for offering both though. So now all I need to do is get this plug back in. However, the little rubber gasket thing here has gone all squishy and is not cooperating. I don't know if that's just because it had gas spilled on it, which it very well might be. Well, I managed to get it plugged in. I think the gasket will probably be just fine in there. If anything, it's doing a better job of sealing, right? No, probably not right. Anyways, that's in there. Now we just got the spark plugs left to do. And because this is a longitudinally mounted, is that the right word? Anyways, it's mounted this way. Spark plugs are just across the top like this, all 5 of them, which I love. I've never had to put an odd number of spark plugs in a car before. And these are Volvo genuine parts. Apparently people say the Volvo ones are the ones you should get. I don't know how true that is, but I got them. They weren't really all that much more expensive than different brands, so why not? And like I said, we've got 5 of them here. I love it. Of course, I'm very familiar with this part from when I did the timing belt. The little plastic wrap stuff, the cable shielding, is completely disintegrating. And as I'm looking in here, I noticed that some parts of it fell into the little coil spot. It's not in the cylinder yet, obviously, as I haven't pulled the spark plug. But that would not be good. So I'm gonna go grab a vacuum, get that stuff sucked out of there. That looks to have done the trick. A stupid pipe in the top here is really inconvenient. That could very well be my issue. Look at the point on the new one versus the point on the old one. This very well could be my issue too. I'm glad I'm doing all of this maintenance. Yeah, and they're just all like that. They just all have no point left on them. Let's get these new ones dropped in here. Oh man, I'm gonna vacuum these out one more time. I see some more debris down there. All right, that is looking much better. All right, let's find the torque spec and actually do these to spec, since I didn't do them to spec on the Goldwing and now it won't start. I don't know if that's the issue, but it's something for thought. 30 Newton meters. Let me go grab my torque wrench. All right, I guess it's time to make sure it still works again, though I can't imagine why it wouldn't. But I also said that about the Goldwing, so let's see what happens. Might just need fuel pressure. There we go. There we go. Runs great. All right, before we do a test drive, you'll remember that when I was aligning this car, I saw a lot of power steering fluid dripping off of the skid plate. Hopefully it's just something here that we bumped when we were doing the timing belt, because you have to move this thing out of the way. But more severely, it could be the power steering pump, which I believe is this thing. Just at a glance, I don't see anything really wet, but I'm gonna have to take a little look and see. It's definitely wet down there. Oh no, is it leaking from the steering rack? That would be just about, I think, the worst place it could be leaking from. Let me crawl under and make sure I still see fluid under there. Oh man, yeah, it is soaked under here. And it really looks like it's coming from the steering rack. So I think we have our diagnosis. I'm going to just choose to ignore it for now. I'm going to look up how bad of a job it is though, because I do not think it's going to be fun. Oh god, this is a huge job. That sure is the subframe that's coming down. That is just about as bad as news as I could get today. For now, I'm going to practice what they call in the software engineering industry the ostrich algorithm, which is a very complex algorithm. You bury your head in the sand. That said, let's take this thing on a test drive and see if the pulsing issue is gone. Maybe we'll go on a test drive to pick up some power steering fluid. Well, that is a win that I needed. The issue seems to be completely gone. I don't know which of those three things it was. I'm willing to bet the fuel filter because that thing was gross. But I'm sure the spark plugs also helped. And hey, maybe the sensor did too. Pretty easy work. And it seems to be completely fixed. However, I did notice some new terrible noises coming from the steering rack. So that is not fixed. Let's hope the ostrich algorithm works out for at least a while. Now what we got here is some off-roading footage of it with the lift kit and the beefy tires on it. And just like last time, there's cards up in the top right and links in the description to the full video if you want the context. But this thing is so much more capable with the lift kit and the tires. It really just did not have enough ground clearance before, and of course tires always make all the difference in the world. He says, that hit adjusted my mirror and turned on my windshield wipers. Jeez. And just an hour and a half later, that's where the Volvo's at. Thanks so much for watching. This took a lot of work to put together. I put a lot of work into this car. If it's your first time here, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you like this video, then hit the like button. And actually, we're taking this thing on a multi-thousand-mile road trip as you're watching this, so that video will be out soon. Hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see that. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.